Hey everybody, welcome to the third installment of Project Onward Artists at Home. I'm your host, Alex Oliver, and you may notice that I am decked out in Project Onward swag this afternoon, including Old Man Bus by Ricky Willis, one of my favorite pieces. Got this really fantastic, you know who this is. This is obviously a Louis DeMarco original on the hottest fashion trend ever inspired by a global pandemic. This really comfortable yet durable mask. Let's see, we got a little more here. I especially like this one. That's an original design by today's special guest, Luke Shemroske, who will be joining us very soon. But first, I just want to welcome everyone again and wish everybody a happy third Friday. For those of you familiar with Project Onward, you know that for all the residents of the Bridgeport Arts Center, Project Onward's home for the last few years. The third Friday of every month is a very big deal, and it's just kind of a really fun, exciting open house that unfortunately has to happen remotely given the current circumstances. But I would encourage you to support Project Onward at projectonward.org and at their Threadless store, which you can find a link to on their website. And if there are any other people, studios, organizations in the Bridgeport Arts Center that you would normally visit today, maybe see if there's any way you can support them online as well. Anyway, let's get right into the interview here. I'm going to take a moment to invite Luke to join me, and we'll be in full swing. Stand by. Hi, Luke.
Hi, Alex.
How you doing? Let me adjust my volume here real quick. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
Excellent. How are you?
pretty good. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me do this.
Yeah, of course, of course. It's a pleasure. You're definitely, I think most people watching are probably familiar with your work at this point. You are a more recent addition to Project Onward, but already, I think, one of the most prolific artists that's working there. You've been there, it's less than a year, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you've already been, there's a ton of Luke's work up on the Project Onward online store, including several pieces that were just added today, all different price points. So definitely check that out. You were featured at the 2020 Outsider Art Fair in New York, which is a huge deal, not just for Project Onward, but for the outsider art community as a whole worldwide. And that's a big part of the reason why we wanted you on the show today, because the particular theme for Project Onward's Third Friday show is outsider connections, which is really kind of exploring but also challenging the notion of what an outsider artist is. And I think a lot of people think that you definitely represent that pretty well. And I guess I'd just like to start by kind of asking what your thoughts are regarding that outsider art community and that label, and how that kind of inspires your art, and just sort of your take on that whole scene.
For as far as outsider art goes, I think that when you have the internet, anybody who has the internet is kind of like an insider now. So it's hard to have any outsider art exist anymore. Kind of. I don't know too much about it, but it seems it says like if it's outsider, it's somebody outside the art world. But if you put somebody who's outside the art world on the internet and show them the art world, then I don't know. It's confusing, I guess.
Yeah, well, and like a lot of things in the art community, these are concepts that can be really broad and kind of vague sometimes. And for anyone who may not know, and I certainly am not the authority on these things, but my basic understanding is that outsider art, or kind of its related forms like folk art, it really just kind of, in the strictest definition, it's anyone without art made by anyone without sort of a formal art education. But I think uh, in a broader sense, I mean, which certainly applies to the artist at Project Onward, but in a broader sense, I think it also is just kind of anyone who just creates their art very intuitively, that has this just like, it's just compelled to make it, and there's not a lot of really conscious thought as far as like form and structure, and you just really, it just comes out of you, and that is really apparent when I look at your work. And I don't know if you want to maybe offer a little insight into your process, sort of what, if any, kind of thought you put into a project before you start, or if it's just sort of like a stream of consciousness.
It'll be both, because I'll have ideas pop up and think like, oh, that's good, and then uh, maybe execute on it, or maybe not, or maybe start and then it just goes in a different direction because I can't keep on that direction. So I just kind of keep doing whatever I think to do in the moment. But I mean, sometimes it starts from like, it'll start from uh, a bunch of different places. Because I mean, I could think of something and just start like scrawling, and then from that I see something or think of something or want to say something or write something, and while I'm writing something I think of an image, and then I put the image, and then I look back at it, and I can see like feedback from like me to me, kind of.
Mm-hmm. So you're rarely ever concerned with how someone else might interpret it, or even if it has any real meaning at all. It's really just kind of how it makes you feel, and that's sort of what keeps you going throughout the process. Is that kind of what
I
I'm hearing?
think I think what I think what people will think, like, what will they think of this, or what are they gonna take away from this, or what are they gonna think this means? But uh, I can't, I can't, I can't really. I haven't been able to make something yet that would show just one. That would just show one clear thing that's like super concise, that everybody would be like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, right.
Like a bunch of different stuff that I
You're
put.
getting some comments here about the feedback from me to me phrase that you used. People seem to like that. I think that is a pretty cool way to look at it too. Almost becomes like a loop. Uh, let's talk about, if you wouldn't mind discussing some specific pieces. I think this would be a good place to start. It's become kind of an iconic image, at least within Project Onward, and definitely makes for a cool mask, T-shirt, backpack, whatever. What kind of inspired that piece?
That was just a lot of like rejection, I guess. Just I think the rejection, and it's that this is from a while ago. So I think at that point I was like doing a lot of, I don't know how you say it. I guess I was there was points where I was trying to meet girls and I would get rejected,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a point where I would try to like befriend people, or just people, or I would like send in art and people didn't like the art.
Yeah. So it just kind of represents some of your disillusionment with like romantic relationships, professional relationships. It all just kind of came to a head and
Yeah, and then there's like a mountain,
uh-huh.
and I don't remember really what the mountain was, but I wanted to put it in there, like
Yeah.
in that painting. And then there was like a black diamond, and I think that was
I'll hold it up here again for everyone to see.
yeah.
Obviously, there's more high resolution copies of this on the
There,
website and on your
yeah,
Instagram.
they're in the because that's like a clip of the painting that's like been scissored out, but the
Right.
whole had more stuff in it. But that heart was basically about rejection.
Uh-huh. Hmm. Yeah, it's really amazing. I you seem like you have based on what you're telling me now and kind of what I read in your bio on projectonward.org, it seems like you sometimes have a bit of a contentious relationship almost with art. Like it really is just a compulsion and not something that you even necessarily have fun doing sometimes. It seems like you it like does it feel like a chore sometimes, but still something that you have to get out of you have to express?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's like suffering through it.
Yeah. I I remember seeing this must have been, if I recall correctly, shortly after you joined Project Onward. But I'm looking at your Instagram right now, which is just at Luke Shemroske, Shemroske, and you've got on there a piece. This just kind of really, your captions on there are really fantastic and kind of help um, illustrate your kind of love-hate relationship with art making sometimes. It's an image of Godzilla. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
There was a couple of Godzillas. There was
So this is one. I just want to read the caption here real quick because I found it pretty amusing. But you said, I think I've just stumbled across the most solid and revolutionary painting I've ever made. Maybe that anybody's made recently. Or it's a worthless, washed out Godzilla painting that looks like shit.
and yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Which I love the very, the real kind of just conceited sort of brag that you start with, and then the very kind of humble, self-deprecating, uh, that followed. It just really, I think, it's represented in a lot of your work. I think whether you explicitly say it like that or not, there's clearly like a lot of mixed emotions going on, and I imagine that's probably a hard thing to really conceptualize, but you really have a way of expressing it that I'm really blown away by. And you also use a lot of mixed media. It's not strictly painting. Is that another thing that it's like, do you really think about that when you sit down to make a piece, or do you just kind of halfway through painting something, do you think that maybe you need some other kind of materials in there?
I think that I think it changes because sometimes I start with something and I'm like, oh, what would look good with this is like this paint marker, or maybe I want to use this, but I don't want to go actually like get all the materials ready. So I'll just use this paint marker. Or sometimes I want to like make something and it requires more stuff and I have to get stuff ready and make stuff. And there's like times where I will just experiment, I guess, and like touch different materials to different materials and like layer them or see what they look like next to each other. And then
Yeah. We've got quite a few questions coming in. Usually I would save those for the end, but I think a couple of these kind of go along with the theme of what we're talking about right now. So real quick, I want to throw some viewer questions at you. Sloop Bobby D asked if you plan your colors or do they just come together?
if I plan them,
Yeah, if you think about them kind of beforehand, or I imagine that's probably another thing that you don't really think about. It just sort of happens.
I I kind of feel them out and say like this one, this feels right. This one looks good. This is right. Recently, I've been looking at them more, trying to be like, what would look good next to this one? No, that doesn't look right, and then fix it. What looks good, or maybe this one needs to pop out more or something. But
Hmm.
I'm not planning and like, oh, it'll be good with red and blue, and I just, yeah, just kind of start and then let it flow and see where it goes.
Right. Well, hey, Bird Brain wants to know, how do you decide when a piece is done? And done, I should mention, I don't know if this is telling, but it is in quotation marks. So maybe that's to suggest that nothing, that's never really done. But when do you decide you've just kind of had enough and it's time to move on?
Wow, there's a lot of different ways for that to happen because sometimes I will look at something and uh, it just something hits me and it's like it's done, call it, it's over, it's good, leave it. And then sometimes it's I don't have that, and then I just keep it around, and then years later I end up going back into it. Sometimes I ask people like, how is this? What do you think of this, or like this, or should I do this? And sometimes it's just I kind of feel it out for when people, if like people will say like don't make sense, and then I can choose to listen or not, and then sometimes sometimes I just don't want to work on it anymore, and I'm done with it.
Yeah, right. Right. I know that feeling. You just kind of, you'll keep going in circles if you don't just decide that it's done. You have to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go back a little, and because I'd like to know a little bit more about your background and what led you to Project Onward. But if you can, just kind of tell us about what sort of inspired you to start making art in the first place. Do you remember kind of what the genesis of it was?
I remember looking at books when I was young with like snakes or lizards in it or something,
Hmm.
and I'd be like, oh, I like that. I'm gonna draw that. I want to draw that, and then I would see like eels and squids and stuff, and I'd be like, oh, that's so cool. Like I wish I could have those or be that or something. I wanted that, something about that.
Yeah.
And then I think that yeah, my parents probably guided me and drew stuff with me, and my dad would draw some stuff, and I had like clay, and I remember one time trying to make like a viper eel, I think, out of clay, and I had uh, kind of needed help with clay. I was young, and my dad would like kind of do stuff to it, and I asked for the viper eel, and he like put his touches on it, but he didn't do it well, right, the
Yeah.
way I do. So I was like, I gotta be able to do this well myself with
Yeah.
the. So I think from there, I just continued to make stuff that I liked. I just wanted to.
About how old do you suppose you were when you first started?
Young, I just was always making something. I mean,
Yeah.
I have,
Because I'm scrolling through your Instagram now, and I'm seeing that I'm seeing a lot of lizards and things, and so that's clearly something that still kind of inspires you.
yeah, I really
Yeah.
like animals. I like reptiles. They're cool.
Here I just happened upon something that White Islands brought up earlier, a piece called "I Love Myself." Can you talk a little bit about that? Looks like it was. done on what appears to be a pizza box.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that came, I think, from I was walking home from work once, and there was a pizza box sitting there,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, okay, this will make a good surface to paint on. And so I think at that during that walk, I really had built up self-esteem, and I had like some like profound self-love going on. And when I got home, I wrote I love myself and made the face.
Wow.
And then later there was, I think the same night, I did some sort of weird transfer from making pen drawings on Walgreens receipts or something.
Uh-huh.
And then I would like transfer them on. So there was like one, two, three, four, I think, different, I guess they're like personalities or moods. Then there's like the main one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, ESD's 8 says, dude, I love the pizza box paintings. I have one. So clearly you got fans of those. Yeah, that one's really amazing. On that note, it's one of many pieces that incorporate images and text. And I'm wondering how you think those, if the inspiration for like some of the words and phrases on your art, if those are kind of often thematically tied into the images, or if they're kind of inspired by the same things, or if they're meant to represent maybe some kind of contrast to the visual element. What can you tell us a little bit about incorporating these words and phrases into your work?
Yeah, I hear them and I feel them and I think them and I add them, and then when I add them, maybe one is too strong one way and I have to bring it back the other way.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe something my mind says something about that, and then I write that down, and then that word looks cool, and I can twist it and turn it and form it, and then I just words look really cool. Words look really cool as pictures. So
Yeah.
I sometimes very uh, fun to play with, I guess, and they can look really cool. Or
Absolutely. Well, one of my personal favorites, a piece that I actually own. I would show it to the audience, but it's currently on the back of my cell phone case, which I'm using to broadcast right now. But is one of your Grim Reapers, and I've got one of those stickers. There are two versions of it, which can currently be seen on your Instagram. One, I guess, is the clean version. The other is the kind of explicit version.
yeah,
I personally really like the one with the Grim Reaper, the sickle, and then just the phrase "suck it"
yeah.
letters. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And that looks like it was probably just something you kind of, what was it? It looks like it's probably just pen. You probably just, got it out real quick, and then I imagine you were just kind of done with that and on to the next project, right?
Yeah, I made it quick and I left it there for who knows how long, and then I ended up looking at an old sketchbook and I saw it and I was like, oh, that's a good one. Why didn't I
Yeah.
share that or something? And
I
yeah,
love the idea of the Grim Reaper coming to collect someone's soul and saying something as juvenile as "suck it." That really just made me laugh.
can't do anything, gonna die.
Yeah, I love it. I imagine he would have a real laissez-faire attitude about that sort of thing. We all do about our jobs sometimes. I'm wondering, again, kind of returning to the theme of outsider art, which is the theme of the current show that Product Onward has put together for Third Friday. One of the many kind of facets of that are neuroatypical artists, which is kind of, the whole reason that Project Onward is around, to kind of provide this this space for artists with these disabilities to kind of come together and express themselves and also make some money doing it and help build an audience and kind of further their career. It's really unique in that way. And I'm wondering what kind of advice you might have for other artists going through something similar to what you're going through that may not necessarily have an outlet like that.
Keep keeping on. I don't know, just keep making stuff.
Yeah.
That's the only. So I guess like you like try things. I think because I like I said, the rejections were. I mean that's important to get to in acceptance, you know. So like try things. Yeah, like believe in yourself. I don't know, like yeah, like cause I don't know what else you can do. Try.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as frustrating as it may be sometimes, you just got to try to find the motivation. Well, I'm glad that you persevered and that you wound up finding Project Onward. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to the organization?
Yeah, I had a coworker, and I showed her some paintings. She said she was a painter, and that she said, "Oh, these are good. You should do something with this." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't really know what to do or where to go." And she like went on Instagram, and she's like, "Oh, this is a cool painting. Oh, this is a cool painting. Oh, this is a cool painting. Project Onward. Look, you can enter for that. Isn't that?" I was I was like, I don't know if that's my roots or what to do. And then someone was like, yeah, just apply for that, apply for all the things that you can apply for, like just go online and apply for a bunch. And so I applied to Project Onward. It seemed kind of like within my realm, you know, so I felt good about it. And I got a message back pretty fast saying like, come on in, we love it, but we need to show you need to like show your stuff or
Mm-hmm.
interview or something.
And how do you feel like it's influenced your work, or at least your process, your approach to making art?
I think being around some of the other artists is like unlocked some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can see what they're doing and where it's coming from, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty true. I like that. And then I can like pick up on that from in me more. And then I think there's like a lot of guidance for just if I feel like I suck and I can't make stuff, then it's like I can. There's like encouragement to like keep making it. You're doing good how you are. Like that's good, and that's good because I remember like I can see the other artists. They're working. They're making stuff, and they're not sitting there like crying about it. They're making stuff. So
Yeah, that
figure
seems to be a pretty common theme among everyone I've talked to so far. I mean, it is a pretty inspiring and really diverse environment to be in. I mean, everyone there is you know going through something different and processing what they're going through in different ways and finding. I mean, it's a very therapeutic atmosphere, but it's also just so eclectic, and it makes sense that you guys would all kind of influence each other in that regard. I'm really glad that everyone there has been able to kind of, you know, use it as an opportunity to learn and expand upon their own work in that way. can you show us some of the stuff you're working on at home? Are you in your workspace right now?
Yeah. Um, I I have like um, so I was working on this, which is like uh when I made it, I didn't really know what I was making, but it somebody said that there's like because there's it's hard to see, I guess, but maybe you can see there's like two people inside a house,
Yeah.
and then there was nobody on the street originally, and somebody had brought up that it looked like they were locked down or in quarantine or something. Uh, and then I think this like evil character could be like the virus moving around on the streets or something.
Wow.
And then I don't know what. I mean, it's just like a beautiful plain of grass and some mountains, and there's like a sewer too, which is I got pretty detailed on. I'm pretty happy about it, but
Yeah. Wow.
uh,
Pretty amazing.
I've got that, and then I was working on like this, which is some portrait of some guy that I just made up in my head, and then there's like a little fairy flittering around him.
Yep, I see it.
Yeah, I don't know what this is gonna become or what I'm gonna do with it, but I'm working on it, and then
Wow. Your work is so every piece is completely different from the one before it. It's really pretty amazing.
I I've heard that there's like something to branding where you want to keep all your stuff similar, but
Uh-huh.
I don't. I can't. I guess I don't want to. I don't know. I feel like there's I had I want to do other stuff. Make
Yeah.
so I
Well,
don't.
that kind of brings me to my next question. You sort of explained it a little when you were showing off those pieces, but I guess if you want to go into a little bit more detail about how the pandemic has affected you personally and how it's kind of coming through in your work, how it's kind of inspired or influenced your work at all.
Yeah, I think it's just like in the air and the electronics and like it's like wherever you look is there's something about it. So it's hard to escape that when you're creating because the input comes out.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So it's like it's gonna it's gonna reflect it or bring it up or talk about it to some degree. Uh, I am not in such a bad situation that I'm struggling. I'm pretty lucky with the situation I'm in right now, but uh, it causes stress. Yeah, uh, I don't know. I think it it affected it, it gave it's given me time to work on stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I don't know. I don't know what to. I don't know. I don't. Does that? Did I answer that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you kind of answered it with that first piece that you showed us.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned that it kind of was inspired by the pandemic, that kind of figure on what is otherwise a pretty quiet street is sort of this like looming, ominous evil, um, which I think a lot of people can probably relate to that feeling right now.
Yeah, it's like you go outside and dance with death.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I want to again on the we've talked about how different so much of your work is and how many different kind of mediums you're able to be so proficient in. Um, for my for my own enjoyment, I'd like to talk a little bit about music because I know that you're a guitar player as well.
A little bit. A little bit.
Yeah, can we talk about that a little bit? Sort of what
Yeah.
how
Um.
how that helps you kind of explore your creativity and what maybe kind of inspires you musically.
Yes. So I like playing the guitar. I'm not like a proficient guitar player, but I like to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. I just like, yeah, I like the sounds. I like the playing. I like it's sometimes like very alleviating to do that, and then my mind drifts off while I'm doing that, and it gives the like other parts of my brain room to do stuff on art, like in the background while I'm doing that. And I think that a lot of the looking at um, mm, like I mean I take inspiration from songs and probably like covers of albums and stuff have cool art that inspired me, and the music, the sounds, and what they say. So it's all it all adds to the art. Uh, uh, yeah, I just recently tried to like play more songs rather than just play in my basement by myself doing the whatever I'm making. But like I tried recording things with a couple of chords, and I was pretty happy with the result because I tried recording it on like between an iPad and an iPhone. I put like I record the guitar part on the iPhone, then like turn the iPad on while the iPhone is playing, and
Mm-hmm.
then like make drumming sound. And then when I hit the recording on the iPad, the drum sound is infused with the guitar.
Excellent.
So it's like layering it.
Yeah.
And so that was cool because I felt like, oh well, now if I know I can do this, maybe not the highest quality recording, but I can record something with what I've got, which is cool. And I
Yeah.
think like part of the process is like not it's not always visual, you know. I got to work on the other stuff. There's like other urges to more like musical urges, you know. Like
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well, we've got some questions that seem to pique some interest here, and we got questions coming in related to your music and your art. Robin wants to know, you seem to like the punk music genre. Does that directly affect the text in your art? I,
yeah,
I I'd like to just first start by saying that to someone who's just kind of on the outside looking in, just observing, there's definitely some of those phrases come across as pretty punk rock to me, and like intentionally kind of subversive. So do you feel like that's kind of what inspires you? Is this a lot of the punk rock that you listen to?
yeah, yeah. I'd say so. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, a lot of you know. I'll sometimes I'm listening to a song and like the phrase just shout it out or something. And I write it down, and that's part of it. Or yeah, I'd say it's big influence. Yeah, huge influence on what I do and who I am and how I operate.
How about White Islands wants to know um, how Daniel Johnston's music might speak to you. Apparently, you took some inspiration from him for your recent show. Is that right?
Yeah, he went hardcore at being him.
Yeah.
He was not he didn't seem afraid to be himself, and he wasn't apologetic about being himself, and he believed in himself, and he he kept trying until he got stuff. I watched the movie The Devil and Daniel Johnston, and he'd just like show up and meet people and show people his tape, and he worked really hard, and it was just it's cool to see that part of it. And it's also interesting to see how he has to get through his mental problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. He
And I,
definitely dealt with rejection and was pretty discouraged, but his talent was just undeniable. And yeah, has a lot of ties to the punk community too. Inspired a lot of artists after him. Kurt Cobain just being one of the many that considered himself a huge fan. Not quite sure how to pronounce her username here. Nefi Labata. Which art piece of yours do you connect to the most, if any? I mean, I imagine a lot of them seem really deeply personal, but is there one that stands out?
Not that I can think of.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's ones where, um, well, like there's one that I haven't sold or put up for sale because it's just it meant something to me, and it's not. I could get it.
Great.
I don't even know if I would say this. There's. I mean, it's a toss up for which ones I connect to the most, but I have this. There's like ones that I connect to that I don't know if others would connect to. I don't know if I'm going to answer this question right or if this is.
That's all right. There's no right or wrong answer. But
Okay. Well,
yeah, it sounds like, yeah.
Here's this, which was it was my friend who was really he got really into heroin.
Uh-huh.
And he that
Can
it
you
was
hold that up one more time, Luke? A little closer.
yeah it's like him in front
Yeah.
of a
Kind of tying off in front of a 7-Eleven.
yeah
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
and
that's heavy.
yeah there was it was stressful because he was just I wasn't sure what his where he was going.
Mm-hmm.
So that was stressful. So I kind of feel connected to that one because that was a part of my life when somebody I was close to was very. He's off it now, but
Oh, good. And was this something that you were able to express to him personally, or did you find that kind of incorporating it into your art was the best way you could deal with it?
I would say stuff,
Uh-huh.
but mostly I was pro. I just pretty much said like I was gonna be his friend, and then he could do what he wants, and if he goes, he goes, and then I would have left him as friends, so that would be okay. But I mean, he knew that I don't know, he's weird.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he was able to get clean. And are you two still friends?
Yeah,
Okay.
he got he yeah his yeah we're friends. And then there's another one. Maybe do I still have time or is this?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. There's really no time limit here. And I know everyone watching really wants to see more of your work.
I have this one, which is of like a pill bottle from Walgreens.
Uh-huh.
So this one was D-amphetamine. It was Adderall.
Mm-hmm.
And so when uh, I got put on some drugs, like I was prescribed them, but I was pretty young and didn't realize what they were exactly. So it was kind of like a weird relationship with like stuff stuff like that, and it became just sort of like a personal like imagery or iconography, something that I related to was like the pill bottles because I always had like pill bottles, and I thought the pill bottles would.
Yeah.
represented something or something.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and that is something that uh, I don't know. Based on my limited experience since I've been involved with Project Onward, seeing um, people who are neurodiverse expressing themselves through art, a lot of it seems to be very internal, just kind of like emotions that they're dealing with, that they're trying to kind of work through, or there's just kind of like demons that they have. Um, I don't always see a lot of really external stuff that comes along with it, like that, like medication that you might be on, or just kind of how it just sort of these outside influences. So I think that's a really interesting spin on it, a really interesting way to look at it. But I'm sure that's something that's been part of your life for a while now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's um, yeah. I can't really think of any other ones that I'm super attached to. There's uh, maybe a few more, but I feel like I'm attached to them when I'm making them, and then
Uh-huh.
there's a point where you cut the cord and send them off into the world, and then
Yeah. Well, like I said at the top of the interview, you're already one of the most prolific artists at Project Onward. It seems like you're constantly cranking out new material. Um, do you just, I mean, how much, and especially lately, being kind of stuck at home so much, I know you're working a lot more. Uh, do you just,
I grab my phone charger. Give me one
of
second.
course, take your time, and we'll wrap it up relatively soon. Like, I'll take this opportunity to remind everyone at home, for those of you who may have tuned in late, uh, we're here with Luke Shemroske, who is one of the artists at Project Onward, whose work is featured prominently in today's Third Friday exhibition that's called Outsider Connections, which is really just exploring and challenging the idea of outsider art, what it is and what it represents.
Yeah, it's kind of at a weird angle with the charger, but
Hey, that's
um, yeah.
Are you in your home studio right
What's
now?
it?
Your workspace? Are you in your workspace right now?
Yeah,
Can you show us around a little? Are you able to move your phone? Well,
this is like a table with the
wow.
paints, and then uh, I got this like chair
Mm-hmm.
and like this floor space, and then I have this easel that's usually here, but it's upstairs right now because I was painting something upstairs. Um, but yeah, it's pretty much yeah. I put like water cups around around here, and then sit here, and then I got like the window, and that's kind of nice, and then I
Yeah,
can paint stuff, and it looks pretty good usually. That's I mean I also like I've been planning to paint outside more.
oh, Robin wants to know if that was a tiger. I didn't know
Yeah,
we were working.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not done yet, but it's.
Ah,
Can you see it?
yeah. Looks amazing.
It'll be a tiger eventually when I when I continue to put enough work in it that it then it will when eventually it'll look good as I put more effort into it. It just takes time and effort and
Of course. Yeah. Well, it looks like you're off to a great start. Well, Luke, I think it's probably about time to wrap things up. I want to thank you again so much for joining us today. I want to just real quick give any of the viewers an opportunity to ask any more questions that they might have. They all really seem to enjoy the tiger painting in progress. A lot of likes rolling in. Um, I'll plug your Instagram again one more time. It's just at your first and last name, Luke Shemroske. Am I pronouncing that right? Shemroske?
yeah.
LUKESHEMROSKE. He's got a lot of amazing stuff on there. And like I said, I mean, the work is spectacular, but you should definitely read his captions too, because they're often pretty interesting. Go to projectonward.org. You can buy some of Luke's work. including these really cool masks that are required to enter most public places right now. So do it in style. Thanks everyone watching. Luke, is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No. Thanks for doing this. Thank you for the interview.
Yeah, of
I
course.
enjoyed it.
Fun.
Thank you, people who watched it. Thanks, Project Onward.
Yeah, we'll see everybody when we reopen. For now, please go to projectonward.org and support this amazing organization in any way that you can. Luke, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We can't wait to see more of your work.
See ya.
All right, bye.
Bye.